Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on April 12th, 2024, at approximately 4:33 p.m. PST. Now, I've returned to this world for one primary purpose, and that is to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the same tools I personally use in my own day-to-day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the same philosophies I personally guide virtually every movement I make by. Now, I'm going to apologize right off the bat here because apparently I have a little bit of a glitch with my system. I've got to remember to delete yesterday's link so that I don't accidentally hit it this time, which is where I ended up waiting for the show to start, which apparently it already did. As I've noticed, LA has done us a really huge favor and announced the gold and what have you, and that works out quite well. So with that in mind, we are looking at things a little different. Now remember, I just mentioned that we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. There will certainly be people that are not content with what's happening. Of course, those are the people that think they belong on the top of the pedestal. They are the ones that think that because they've got more money or they may have a couple letters after their name, that they are better than other people. They are the ones that think that because of the fact that they've had some hard times in life, they deserve more sympathy and more care for each other, for them, than for other people, and especially than they feel they have to give out. Now, you'll notice I keep saying they think. Well, the sad part is, in my opinion, they don't think. That's the problem. You see, today, as a matter of fact, this week is literally all about you. In other words, how do we take your life from where it is to where you desire it to be without creating extra problems? Okay, now, absolutely, one thing to keep in mind here, okay, that is that if you've got a question that we are not discussing at the moment, ask it anyway. Pop it into the chat room in all caps, preferably all caps, if not at least partial caps, or at the very bare minimum, toss a wavy hand up there. That way I can see it. Okay, if I miss your question, do not hesitate to repost it. However, that said, spamming will not work well. Matter of fact, I do know that I put the moderators in there for a reason. Okay, and that is to make absolutely certain I don't have to deal with it. Because I don't know about you, but one stroke in a lifetime is enough. Now, before I go any further here, I cannot get to the top of the screen. I do not know why. But it looks like, because all I can see is LA being first in, but according to the half words I'm getting, Adam, it does look like you were in the house with the goal. Okay. And I take it therefore, LA, that this means that, bearing in mind that you have given Joe, where are we? Yeah, Joe with the silver here. I'm presuming this means you are stepping out of the running because you're helping run it behind the scenes. And if so, no problem there. I know how I'm working with there. And then it looks like, Raven, how you doing? You've shown up with the silver today. Which brings Steve in with the honorable mention. And all in all, welcome aboard, guys. I do trust things are going well for you. Needless to say, things have been a little sketchy on my end. So I just scroll down to the bottom here and catch myself up. Joseph, how you doing? Glad you could join us. And now I know you asked me something there the other day there, Joseph, and I cannot off the top of my head for the life of me remember what it was. Oh, that's what you were asking. Yeah, no. The article that you submitted, Joseph, I see no problem with it. So it's already in June's edition. It's already set to go. You know, so I mean, from that standpoint, and I do agree with you. You know, to be clear, guys, people keep asking me about, well, who my friends are, and I'm still sad to say have a lot of trouble with the qualification. Okay, it's kind of like when people tell me, you know, who do you trust? Well, you know, who I trust, who I call friends. The reality of it is, it's a pretty blurred line between friendship and acquaintanceship, at least as far as really identifying people. Okay, I get asked who my closest friend is in life. That closest friend is right here. And the reason, I will have to hold that thought for a second. Sorry about that, guys. Cut myself off right there. But anyway, the reason I consider myself my best friend is because of this. I've always had this kind of a twisted outlook on things. A best friend to me is the one that will be there no matter what you do, no matter where you are, whatever time of day. They're there to back you up. Well, you know, that runs into a problem because I'm the only one on the planet that will be there no matter what happens. Now, do not get me wrong. There are people that I will certainly make room for. And maybe that's what people qualify as friends. Okay, this is why I turn around. This is why I've got people like, you know, like Storm, Lynn Ann, Joseph, much on the same wavelength. We just come to it by different methods. And woo, did not notice you come in, probably because of the fact I had that little glitch. But that said, when I say it's all about you, the only person in existence that you have control over, and I mean control, not influence, the only person you've got control over is you. Now, there are some extenuating circumstances. Elaine, how you doing? Absolutely, Joseph. You know, the funny part is when, you know, like I've mentioned to people in the article that you sent, the only thing I did to it was adjust the spacing and the paragraph alignment and you know, sizing, that sort of thing, just simply to make it fit properly. I didn't even find any spelling mistakes, to be honest with you, but then I don't worry about that too much. When somebody submits something, I simply adjust the spacing on it so that it is lined up accordingly. Ouch. Well, look at the bright side, Elaine. At least it was baseball sized and not softball sized, or worse, you know, or worse, you know, shot put or medicine ball sized, also known as meteor shower, I think. But no, I take a look at my world now. As you can see, my bed is covered again. Well, this is a normal transition during the day. Okay, because this is also my office desk. Now, when you look in the mirror, well, yeah, Elaine goes, messed up trucks, homes and houses, etc. Baseball size and orbital meteors, yeah. I remember doing a reading for a chap in Kentucky one day. And yeah, while I'm talking to him, I get this. I'm like, what the heck is that, sir? He goes, oh, that's just a tornado warning. I says, isn't that the sort of thing you're supposed to pay attention to? And he goes, well, yeah, but we got 10 minutes, so let's finish off the reading and then I'll get out of here. So of course I get off the phone and my boss looks at me and goes, this guy's been phoning a lot. Are you sure he's got the money to be able to afford it? I said, well, if he wasn't working, he's working now. If he can swing a hammer or haul debris, he's working now, right? And my boss looks at me and goes, well, why? I said, because while he was on the phone, a tornado ripped through his neighborhood. So everybody's working. But you'll notice, guys, especially in your area there, Elaine, you notice the hailstorms and hailstones did not check to see who was voting for who. They didn't check to see who had the most money to find out whether or not to break the glass. Okay. They didn't go, oh, there's a Lamborghini. Let's not touch that because that belongs to so-and-so. The hailstorm didn't care. Yeah. You think my dually hood looks like a honeycomb. Yeah, I'm just glad. Hopefully nobody, and I mean people or people or animals got hurt. Unfortunately, the plants are certain to have gotten hurt. They can't move. So I mean, I look at the world the way things are going. Oh, it absolutely does, LA. And it's funny because, they're probably some bruised. And unfortunately, I do feel for them. But I have no doubt, Elaine, that you're going to spend the next few days going over the poor kids, checking for bruises. I'm sure that nobody got broken. And most pet owners have the same idea. My pet's been hurt. I'm taking care of it like a four-legged, fuzzy, furry, scaled, feathered kid. Okay. Now, can you picture what would happen if people had kids born with feathers? Or, for that matter, born with beaks? The reality is, when we look at the way the world is, now, I'm looking at my office, okay? And I am now... I found out I've actually got a third clipboard I didn't know I had. Because we've been going through stuff. My youngest. Oh, there we go. Oh, Joe goes, there's a wind advisory here in Michigan all day. It just stopped raining. So I don't know if the wind will affect things in the cemetery tonight or not. Well, I will tell you. The ghosts, contrary to popular belief, and certainly contrary to what they teach you in Ghostbusters, do not get blown around by the snow, by the wind. Things are taking an interesting turn here. Turns out my youngest son is now potentially looking at moving out, which makes things all kinds of interesting. Here we are. And Joseph's going, we have a fire warning. We actually had one just the other day that our snow cap and our rain, the rain levels are only at 67% of last year's. Okay. So they're expecting a firestorm here. And Joseph has a fire warning, as does LA Moon. Now, in case you guys hadn't noticed, who you call Mother Nature, Gaia, who I call Esau, is a little testy. The way people have been treating each other, and more importantly, in her eyes, the way people have been treating the world is a problem. Okay. But this is something we have the ability to change. But we start right here, right now, right where you're sitting. Now, let me ask you this. If you take a look at the area around you, are you content with where things are? Now, I'm going to put something here, and I'm not expecting anything. In all fairness, I just got told I've got that now. I'm coming down to Reno. Okay, but I just got told I've got an old collection here. I've got 2 collections here. I'm disposing of. It's just a question of this, just an off chance. So if you tell me you'd like them and you're going to be in Reno, okay, I'm betting these are going to be rather expensive to ship, which is why I'll bring them down. But I've got one list here that are, oh, what is this? Well-loved tales, and in this collection, these are just little books. This isn't a question of selling, by the way, guys. This is a question of disposing of. But we are talking about books like The Wizard of Oz. Many of you, especially the younger ones there, these won't make a lot of difference to, in all likelihood. But this particular set is what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a set of 10 fairy tales. Okay, and of course, this one is the Peter Rabbit collection. And it's got 7 in it. I am going to be disposing of these. They're going to sit in storage until I either get told by somebody that they desire them, or until Christmas rolls around. One of the two. Like I said, I'm disposing of a lot of things. This is going to somebody by Christmas. And yes, as it looks, this is chock full, I think. So I'm going to open that up and find a problem. It is about half full of assorted Lego orders or Lego projects. But like I said, as I come across stuff I'm getting rid of, where are we? Yeah, that's just it. I'm 4 hours north of the U.S. border, and I don't travel a half hour in downtown. The fact, like that Lego box, I'm not bringing down. That's for dang sure, way too big. But the books are small enough. If somebody decides that they desire them, drop me a note. I will bring them down. Otherwise, they will simply be going to somebody at Christmas. I have no idea who, but like I told you, when I'm talking about things being all about you, this means in your house, take a look at whatever is cluttering the energy flow in your house, right, starting right where you are. Now, I gotta double check something. Actually, don't, but I'm in the room anyway. Bonus. So this is literally a question of you get the clutter out of the way. The energy flow runs more smoothly in your house. Net result, you get more accomplished and you get along with people a little better. Joseph, that is an excellent question. Joseph asked, question, what lies beyond the confines of conventional reality? Well, this is going to sound really vague, but I'll get into it in a little more detail in about 30 seconds. Beyond conventional reality is reality itself. Humans only understand, as a matter of fact, most corporeals only understand such a tiny component of that. See, we are taught, and here's a real short lesson in basic physics. We are taught the space is empty. We are taught the smallest element on the periodic table of elements is hydrogen with only one electron. Well, here's the thing where it gets conflicted. Okay, if you take that as a baseline of the superstructure of reality, okay, let's start at the building blocks and just destroy them all together. It is already proven by scientists that at seemingly random intervals, an electron will break away from one atom and travel a short distance to connect to another atom. Okay, now let's just take that example, and hopefully you'll be able to track this. Okay, let's just take two hydrogen atoms. Now, the first one, that hydrogen atom loses an electron. So the electron travels through this so-called empty space. And we'll get to exactly why that's not actually empty to connect with the other one. But before we go there, that electron leaves the hydrogen atom. Now you have a hydrogen atom with no electrons. This is what what I personally refer to as a null atom. And there are a staggering number of these around. Okay, the periodic table of elements is constantly changing, as in electrons hooking up, sometimes more. They are jumping ahead and becoming a more evolved element. Now, when we take that loose electron, first it is traveling through so-called null space. But because you've got all of these null atoms there and multiple electrons going in various different directions, okay, what you've got is a shock wave on the subquantum level. Now, that first element, that first electron we were talking about, breaks away. Yeah, no doubt, Joseph. Joseph goes, empty space, a pure vacuum, suddenly produces an electron and confuses the science community. Pretty much. So we have this lone electron traveling, creating a shock wave. Okay, and I'll get back to what that shock wave is useful for. And connects with another hydrogen atom. So you now have a hydrogen atom with one electron. That's hydrogen. Then we have the second electron connect. And all of a sudden that hydrogen atom has become a helium atom. Okay, now here's the funny thing. When this is the reality of the science of physics. This is what humans are ignoring. And many of the corporeal races haven't pieced it together. Wish I could remember who it was. I gotta make a note for that for tomorrow. Yeah, should have time for today, but things got a little screwy. Anyway, mine goes blank on occasion. That's okay. You get used to it. It's kind of like my heart stops on occasion. But when you take a look at that, when we look at what the Greys did, they capitalized on that shockwave. And that is what, well, actually, the Greys did not. My apologies. Okay. As a matter of fact, the funny part is, I know the individual in this lifetime that discovered the whole thing about the shockwave. Okay. Simply put, it was the Atlanteans that discovered the shockwave. Okay. It was them that figured out that null space, that the empty space wasn't entirely empty. As a matter of fact, quite frankly, it was a theory brought about by one individual whom I personally know this lifetime. Okay. This individual discovered the shockwave theory, and net result, the OTE drive was born, the oscillator densification of the tri-transcendental equilarity. Okay, and yes, I can explain that a whole lot more. But for the moment, the reality that you're referring to there, Joseph, that's the start of it. And by the way, the neat part is mankind calls it a pure vacuum. Okay. It's not pure. It's also not a vacuum, by the way. It's just got really low pressure. And yeah, in all fairness, LA, well, you're both sort of right there, Joseph. It is kind of like riding a surfboard, except it's a surfboard you can't fall off, which means you've been tied to the surfboard and rifled into a roller coaster from heck. Okay. But the Big Bang is a whole different ball game. But in case you had noticed, what humans call the Big Bang, okay, is an ongoing transitory situation. Literally, it's almost like the Ice Age. It comes and goes. Okay, now our latest rendition of reality did come about by what humans have called the Big Bang. Okay, the funny part about it is there was no bang. It is an ongoing thing, just like you have an ongoing situation when you breathe. Oxygen goes out, oxygen comes in. No, that's wrong. Carbon dioxide goes out and oxygen comes in. But that's okay. Because because where it comes to the plants, if I remember my botany correctly, they take in carbon dioxide and push out oxygen. Works out well. Everybody gets to breathe. Except me. Every now and again, that just quits. But you take a look at where your world is sitting, at where the clutter in your house is at this moment. What did I just do with it? Of course, trying to keep things organized is always fun. So I'm just going to move these two collections of books and put them over with the Christmas stack. See, the neat part is get the stuff I'm getting rid of. Okay, and that's actually what my son is in the process of doing, is getting rid of a lot of stuff there too. Now, the thing is, okay, yeah, it really is, LA. And I know you know that firsthand better than a lot. But, yeah, what we have to realize is much like this whole Ice Age thing, global warming, that is Itza breathing. Okay. Neat part is, let me ask you this. Okay. And this is just a simple mathematical consideration. If you take a look at the number for pi, and I forget the actual calculation for it, but I know roughly it's 22 divided by 7. But if you take a look at it, 3.1415, I believe it's 9267, I think that's the first 6. Okay. Does it have any numbers after that? Okay. This is a thing we have to look at when you start looking at beyond accepted reality. Or beyond conventional reality. The fact that we cannot see any further or do not have the technology to pick up anything finer does not mean it does not exist. Okay? It's like when somebody says, oh, I'm scared of such and such. And somebody else looks at them and goes, there's no point in being afraid of it. Fear has nothing to do with being logical about it. So I've been going through this stuff and slowly but surely eliminating things I no longer require, which is why I've got now 3. Let me go. Just because I keep writing too many things, if you will. What do we got? Oh, this is for stuff I think about while I'm on live stream here. Joe is just letting us know the next full moon is Tuesday, April 23rd, 2024. That's like gold for the paranormal. Well, that's the funny part. Now, looks like we're going to go into an interesting thing. And like I said, this is all about you. But here's a neat little thing. Okay. When we take a look at the full moon, so many people go, oh, it's a full moon, you get all these problem children. Because it's a full moon. Well, you got to remember, number one, the full moon, well, let's face it, it's a lot brighter. Okay, or at least it appears to be. But here's the reality. That full moon has its biggest impact on people born on a new moon. But then the new moon has the same level of impact on people born on a full moon. Now, the ones that are born on crescent moon, on waxing or waning moons, are affected less. But doesn't mean they aren't affected. Because you got to remember, we've got, a full moon, you get 5 days of the moon. So let's just do a real quick mathematical calculation, shall we? Because that's always fun. We take 16 divided by 365. And about 16% of the population is affected by full moons, is adversely affected by full moons. About 16% of the population is affected every time the full moon comes up. Now, this means another 16% are affected every time the new moon comes up. The kicker to that is that means only that roughly 68%, the major majority of people, are not functionally affected by the moon. Okay. Now, this does not mean people will not use the moon as an excuse. Of course, I've seen people use other people's actions as an excuse. Like, picture somebody, and I know you all know somebody like this. You go out for dinner, and somebody's gone out and got drinking way too much. And the moment I saw this myself in the bar one day. I'm sitting there, and this massive man that would have taken two of me to make. He starts screaming at this tiny girl that he was with. Now, she'd have fit in one of his pant legs. There was just nothing to her. And he starts screaming at her the second she mentioned that she felt he should stop drinking for the night. When he mentioned that, okay, he starts screaming at her, going, "It's your fault I'm drinking. You're the reason I'm drinking, etc., etc." And before I go there, LA, you are absolutely correct. Okay, I think the number is like 86% of us is liquid. So yes, everybody is affected. It's just more adversely so with the 16%. Now, with that in mind, this guy's screaming at her, and I said, "Excuse me, but do you really expect the entire bar to believe that this young lass is physically holding you down and pouring alcohol into your mouth?" Doing the one-arm curl with the alcohol. Okay, so you might want to consider that. You don't like her? That's not a real big problem. You don't like the fact she doesn't like you drinking? There's a simple solution. And I'm all for working problems out, don't get me wrong. But if you don't feel they're workable, it's time to bring an end to it. Of course, there is the advantage of if you both stay fighting with each other, there is this neat little advantage, as my father used to put it. If two people are fighting together, at least only one family is being miserable. Oh, absolutely, Storm. I mean, there was actually a case, about 40 years ago. I'm 60 now. Yeah, about 40 years ago. My brother came across one. A girl had the cerebral cortex. She was born with only and it looks like we're back. Okay, that may be this. Let's see if this works. Yes, I've moved across the room. Problem is, I can only get so far away from the computer unless I get up and move. And by the way, if I disappear beneath the level of the bed, probably means my leg buckled again. But when we take a look at things, okay, it is absolutely imperative you realize where things are happening. Okay. What is this? Now, the neat part about it is when we look at your life, you take a look at the stuff that you've got going on in your life, in your immediate area. Have you removed the excess clutter? Okay. If not, until you do, okay, one of two things will remove the excess clutter. Okay, and clutter, by the way, is stuff being where it doesn't belong, where it's not organized in a fashion that works for you. Okay, now understand, I used to live in a warehouse, essentially. I would have boxes upon boxes all over the place, and I would still know where everything is. So when you don't have the clutter out of the way, okay, you're not going to sleep well. In all likelihood, you won't sleep restfully. That's almost a given. Okay, net result, temperament or emotional stability may be compromised. These are just side effects. Don't take my word for it. Okay, really don't take my word for it. But if you haven't corrected this, it might be time to do so. And you'll notice I have a tendency when I see something, when it finally dawns on me, I did something a little screwy. It becomes time to change it. Oh, where are we here? Can't quite read that. Yeah, Joseph is going, one thing you can do is get your stuff to those making environmental conservation efforts. Absolutely. Okay, absolutely correct, Joseph. This is why when stuff goes out of my house, it goes to recycling, a place that distributes the stuff, or the garbage if it is non-reclaimable under today's technology. The point being, it leaves the area to a proper location, not just getting thrown out the door. Okay, like I keep looking at things. As a matter of fact, yeah, those are in there already. Oh, that reminds me, I have to can't take that. Not yet. So yeah, my brain And we are back. Sorry, guys. As you can tell, there are complications. Well, that seems to be normal. I'm just looking at this, LA. LA's just saying thrift shops for charities often need things to sell. Most of the stuff that's getting sent, if I don't have an actual location for it, goes to one that actually supports Big Brothers. Okay, and I know for a fact they do. They make a donation based on what comes through the door, not just their own donation drives. Okay, but I like them, food banks, hospital auxiliaries, anywhere that's striving to make money. Instead of throwing your stuff in the dump, take it to one of them. Okay, now I've got my preferences. I will not give money to a registered charity or to a church for that matter. But I absolutely have no problem with the idea of giving stuff for them to sell instead of sending to the dump. Because the other thing that the company I deal with does is if they get a bunch of stuff, if they've got too much stuff, instead of just sending it to the dump, the usable stuff, as in clothing, some entertainment stuff, they will send to the less advanced countries. Joseph's going, can you think of these examples illustrate the transformative power of community and collective action in addressing challenges and promoting positive change? Absolutely. If you take a look at, like I said, with the one company I deal with, up here, I deal with a place called Value Village. Now, yes, they make money, okay, but they also sell all this stuff to people that require it. Okay, when we take a look at hospital auxiliary thrift shops, they take that money to help with patient care, to help, especially to help with the patients coming in, okay, or that sort of thing. And all of these things are literally boiled down to the community, not necessarily knowing it's doing it, but the community pitching together to make the changes happen. Okay, this is the same thing that we are striving to do here. Okay, by cross-referencing and promoting the other lines. Absolutely, Joseph. One of the things that I always look at is this. Okay, whenever you like the fact up here, I don't know if they've done it down there yet. Up here, they've stopped making plastic grocery bags, at least in Kelowna here. They don't use them anymore. They've gone back to paper, which, by the way, paper dissolves pretty quick and breaks down. Plastic takes decades. So this is a step in the right direction in my eyes. Absolutely, it cuts into the tree population. But you also got to remember, in counterpoint to that, up here, they've also got tree farms where they are literally planting trees regularly to transplant them out into the other areas. So, yes, there are companies that are working for the betterment of the planet, for the betterment of the animals. Like the one that LA has mentioned here, that they help a no-kill sanctuary for animals. Okay. And to me, I have no problem with it. I mean, myself, I like the idea. There are times, absolutely, when animals must be put down. Sad to say, guys, this is going to sound cold. Understand, humans are animals. Now, I realize some of the humans may behave like vegetables. Okay, or maybe they think like vegetables. I'm not sure which. But some animals, you're better off and they're better off being put down. Okay, you take a look, for instance, at a dog that has got rabies. Okay, if a dog has got rabies, he's going to die. Putting him to sleep early simply kills off his pain. He's going to die anyway. Now, we can take that to extremes and go, well, humans are going to die anyway. Why not kill them? Tell you, the Zeron actually agree with you. But, problem, it's not whether you're going to die. It's how are you going to live? Yeah, a lot of up here, like, and I do take my own bags. A lot of them go bring your own bag. Now, I don't know about you, LA, but when I was growing up, that BYOB meant something entirely different and a lot more fun. Except the side effects. But yes, we've got the bring your own bag here as well. But the ones that still provide bags, like, for instance, grocery stores, okay, they turn around and they tell you flat out, we only use paper, which is great. But we take a look at what's going on in your world. Now, in my office, I've got my desk cleared off right now. Okay, for the most part. Oh, okay. Don't mind me, people upstairs making noise. So I took where I work on my finances, where I work on my material world, on the organizational side of things, that's been completely cleared off. What is this? I don't need that. Put that over there out of the way. So you take a look at it. Now, right now, I've got my whole desk here. Everything has a place on it. Some of it isn't where it belongs right now, but that's okay. But it's a question of making sure you get organized in your own head. Now, this is just an organizational process, an organization in process. In progress, if you will. But as you get the energy cleared out, the clutter cleared out, you'll find, number one, you're more relaxed, you rest better, and net result, you can tolerate the stupidity of other people more effectively. And I know you've all run into people that are absolutely horrendous to deal with. Now, my son just handed me a whole pack of paper, but I use it for just making notes while I'm getting organized. So I've got that stack here, and now I get the fun of starting to figure out how to write with my left hand again. What is this? This belongs. That goes with that. Again, this boils down to make sure when you see a problem with the energy flow, do something with it. Because if you don't, let me ask you this. If you don't straighten your own area up, who's going to do it? Now, I know some of you have turned your eyes skyward and gone, God help me sort out this mess. Bad news. Yeah, he will guide you. He will support you. He'll encourage you. He's not going to come down here and clean your house. He's not going to come down here and take your recycling to the recycling bin. That's your job. He will provide you with people. And this is going to sound real cocky on my part. I come here with a very open mouth, little filtration, but I get told by people, hey, what you said makes sense. It got me motivated to do this. Is it possible that whoever you believe is God sent me or somebody like me to simply point out what we consider the obvious? Is that a plausibility for you? If it is, then that is God's way of saying, hey, here's a helping hand. You're not hearing it from me in spite of the fact I'm giving you the inspiration. I'm giving you the freedom to do it. You're not listening. So we'll try this method. Okay. Is that possible in your eyes? I'm not asking you to fall down, to fall down on your hands and knees and start praying to God. Okay. I am asking you to stop preying on each other. And I did say preying on each other. Every time something goes sour in your life, do not make the immediate jump and go, it's the politician's fault. It's the mogul's fault. It's the elite's fault. I have no doubt they have an influence. However, they're not the ones not cleaning your house. Well, technically, they're not cleaning your house. Okay, but then maybe you aren't either. And, realistically, think back to when you were a kid. Okay, and your mom or your dad would say, go clean your room. And of course, you don't want to do it because nobody likes cleaning a room that I'm aware of. Okay, I've got to come to the conclusion that I require to do so. So whether I like it or not, it's kind of an irrelevancy. But now I'm looking at things going, okay, how do I make this work a little better? Yep, there goes the light. That's always fun. Yeah, Joseph goes, dealing with stupidity, practice empathy. You don't know what the background and skills. Cultivate compassion. Absolutely. And by the way, guys, cultivating compassion does not mean bury the problem child. Okay, that's already been tried, and we ended up with the zombie apocalypse. Of course, when that didn't happen, and what did I just do with it? When the zombie apocalypse didn't happen, well, by burying people and having them wake up after they were dead, some genius turned around and invented one of these. Much more effective method of creating the zombie apocalypse. And I swear, the more advanced this gets, the slower people's brain get. One of the things we have to realize is everything you do has a direct impact. Joe, depends on what today is. Can't tell you how many days. I think 3, Tuesday. Had an interesting conversation. That was when I was talking to them. It was after the show ended on Tuesday. Because I ended up having to discuss with them the whole issue of and I believe I keep getting it mixed up between the Xenon and the Zeron. It would have been nice if they had turned around and gone by and used different names, but it was actually the consortium itself that picked me up. Okay, got that. I did get it right. Xenon are the ones that are okay. Let's try English, shall we? The Xenon are essentially a robotic race. If you will, take a look at the Transformers. The guy that put that concept together was way closer to what was going on than he realized, I suspect. But the Xenon, are intent on wiping out, and this is where they are putting a task force together. Yeah, silver bullets don't work that well on robots. Yeah. Although, on the other hand, if you get silver bullets, they're worth a whole lot more than the lead ones are. But with the Xenon, they're setting up a task force so that we can talk to them. Because there's one flaw in their whole logic thing. You see, the Xenon rely on biomechanical engineers, biomechanical engineering and evolution to come up with new forms for them to take on. Okay, so their focus that we are better than everybody else has a fatal flaw. They don't have the creative capacity. It has not evolved because they've turned around and focused only on what the biosystems have done. So we are setting a task force up to talk to them and point this flaw in their logic out. Okay, now the Xenon are robotic. The reason I said there's two different races. You guys, some of you, if you've researched the alien events, have seen skeletons with a dual cranium, with a brain case that almost looks like a heart, where it's got two complete lobes on the top. Well, it depends on how big the bullet is there, LA. You get a big enough bullet, problem solved, you punch a hole, they can't replicate it. Okay, but the Zeron were dual brain. They were also fully telepathic. Okay, the Xenon have this idea that because they do and they think everything through, that makes them better. Logic-based does not make one better than emotion-based. It is a balance point that is required. Oh, well, yeah, if you shoot, whether you shoot werewolf or Bigfoot, with whether you're shooting an Alarian or a Bigfoot with a silver bullet, it's going to punch a hole. And you are right. That's one of those things they got right with the Alarians. The Alarians have this neat little problem. They don't heal fast when they get hit by silver. Now, I believe there's a couple of other metals that also works with, but I would have to take a look at the different metals and figure out what the components are. I am no scientist. Okay, unless you want to call observation a science. Well, LA, it's really not that hard to confuse me. But when we take a look at the way the energy works, okay, take a look at whatever is cluttering it. Because the more you get straightened out, the more the energy will flow better in your life. Think of your house literally as a physical body. You clog the arteries, okay, and the energy will not flow. Net result, you die. When you clog the hallways and you clog the different rooms, the energy cannot flow. The lifeblood of the house will collapse. And this is where it becomes a balance point, is you've got to get the stuff cleared out to make it work functionally well. One of the neat parts about this is it is so easy for most people to look at somebody else and go, you're doing this wrong, but so few people actually look in the mirror. I'm guilty as charged, although I haven't been charged yet, thankfully. I've done the same thing. I've refused to look in the mirror, and net result, remember a long time back, like as in the beginning of the year, I said I just about hit the water in the financial collapse. Thank you very much, Storm. I appreciate that. The reality is with World Bigfoot Central there, he has some remarkable footage. Okay. And he is one of only two sites that I personally have looked at. Okay. Because, like I said, I do not do a lot of research. But when we take a look at the way that things are happening, now I just got myself completely off track there. When you take a look at the energy in your own home, you eliminate the energy clog, and all of a sudden you will find your energy climb, your personal energy climbs, your temperament stabilizes, your get up and go works well. And this, I do believe we should have done that a while ago, because I do believe, the neat part about it is that when we are talking about the weird and the wonderful things in this world, so many people look at it and go, if I can't see it, I'm not going to believe it. And yet the massive majority of these people believe in a god, a pantheon of gods, is some sort of spiritual leader that has no physical or corporeal body. Okay, and this is the thing we got to remember. When you're looking at do you believe something? And that's why I tell you, don't just take my word for it. Come right out and do your own research. But that's where I was. I had mentioned I had cut real close to the ground, again to the water line with my finances. Well, I'm telling you, I scrambled that one. And I still did the same stupid thing I was doing. And this is why I say, I am not perfect. Okay, I'm barely passable. But I am now looking at things and going, okay, now I've hit a critical point here where, yes, I'm still going to Reno. I've worked out the numbers, but I am already into the water level, which means if you take a look at it from the way a plane works, when it's losing altitude, we were doing this, got real close to the water, pulled back up, and now we're going back down, and this time we've hit the water. Now, I'm going to be able to come back out of the water. Okay. But it took putting my back right against the wall to realize I've got a serious problem that I better deal with. This does not mean I'm not going to continue putting my foot in my mouth. I probably will. But if my sharing this stupid move on my part helps you avoid making the same stupid move or a similar one on your part, then I can work with it. Nathan, oh, that is not Nathan. That is just a shout out from Storm to Nathan. Amazingly, we have not seen Nathan in the house yet. But absolutely, as you see, that is Nathan's link. So drop in, give him a listen on the Quantum Show. Okay, give him a thumbs up. If you like what he has to say, give him a thumbs up. Do subscribe to his channel, and then share the daylights out of the thing. Because it is this growing network that we are building. Okay. That is, and what was... Oh, there we go. LA's going, yeah, a couple of his panels are here. Bonus. And I just found out, I gotta go back up and see who it was. Way back up. There we go. Yeah, I just found out that, and I don't have his link right handy at this point, but apparently Atos from this room has started his own stream as well. I have not been to take a look at it, hence why I don't have his actual link yet. Okay, but I figure he just sent me one just before the show, before this show. So I figured I'd let you know he has joined in the efforts to let people know we do have a way to turn things around. Okay, and it's going to be that joint effort. Is going to be that joint effort of passing on this information that is going to make things work a little better. One of the things that we have to remember is if you're not content with the way your world is working right now, if you're not content with your finances, with your outlook, you're the one that's got to do it. LA, the name is Adam Lakatos. And I just wonder if I've got it here. Scroll that all the way back up top. And I do not see it here. So that's because I probably moved it. Joe's going, I know there are orange lights and orbs, blue, white, red, paranormal wise. Are there any more that I'm forgetting about? Absolutely. Every color under the sun. Okay, but the big ones is you have to take a look at green and purple as well. Not to mention your black and whites. And I don't mean the black and whites as in the police cars. But yeah, if you take the color wheel, the primary ones that show up are red, blue, yellow, green, orange, purple, black, and white. Okay, and of course you do have the crystal ones, but the crystal orbs you're going to have a heck of a time seeing, because the only way you'll see the crystal orbs is, the only one you're going to see, the way you'll see the crystal orbs is this, and I can do it sort of. As you can see, there's a crystal orb. Now, in this case, it's one that actually works really well. But the only way you're going to notice is if you look through it, it's the distortion behind it that will tell you you're seeing a crystal orb, not the hand holding it. Because amazingly, hand is the one that does that. So you've actually got 9 right off the top of my head I can think of. And of course, size varies in accordance with energy levels. Yeah, I will, if he gets a hold of me first. Well, Adam, if you are in the room, absolutely drop Storm, LA, or myself. As a matter of fact, it'd be really handy if you drop me one. Drop us the link to your new stream. That way we can pass it on. The reality of it is, Joe, a black orb is an orb that literally no color escapes. Black orb, most people will see it. They will almost assume that a black orb and a black hole are the same thing, but they aren't. Okay, take a look at something like a 5-pin bowling ball. Okay, or there's another game, lawn bowling, the black ball they use for that, or for that matter, your cue ball. Okay, they are literally just a black orb. Okay. Yeah, Joseph Lanson is saying, I've seen a black ray one night. Those are neat because the only way you're seeing those is if the stars or whatever you're looking at all of a sudden vanish for a moment and then show up again. This is the same way that you see many of the ships that are flying around. Okay, it was neat when I went to the Strazazian homeworld and bore witness to one of their sandstorms. I found out there is another race that is there, and boy, are they ever a nasty little race, kind of like airborne piranha. As in they will eat whatever they can get their teeth on. Now, again, what we are looking at here, yes, a lot of what I talk about sounds completely loopy. Absolutely it does. Okay, problem. I can't do anything about what it sounds like. For me, this is just plain reality. But what I do know is that when we work together, when we build on the strength of each other, well, as you know, Joseph, I'm not sure how that's supposed to be worked. But let's face it. Yes, crows are black, so are ravens. For that matter, so are blackbirds. None of them, and if you see one that happens to be an orb, probably hit the wall too fast. I absolutely agree with you wholeheartedly there, Joseph. Joseph goes, let's continue to cultivate a culture of compassion and self-awareness within our community. Absolutely. World, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Yeah, I hadn't actually noticed, but I have noticed ravens are good. The ones around here anyway are almost double the size of the crows. I think the largest one I ever saw, and I know it was my spirit guide, I had a raven show up that was 4 feet tall. Okay, but that was a whole different issue. The reality of it is this: if we can, it's my hope that people will take the message that we're building here and in your own lives, in your own world, out around you, spread the same message. Okay, the reality is we absolutely require changing the direction things are going in. Joe's going. Now, one particular night a while back, the cemetery went wild. It went nuts with the night. Okay, I saw at least 100 red orbs. It was normal people visiting. Normal people visiting ghost hunters. The funny part about it is, when people say once you're dead, you're dead. I'm telling you, a lot of the time when you're seeing orbs, you're not looking at a lot of dead people. And Joseph is just adding, practicing self-compassion and setting boundaries are just acts of kindness towards others, but are not just acts of kindness towards others, but also towards yourself. Absolutely. If something is causing you a problem, you owe it to yourself to put the boundary in place. And this is why I picked up the idea of putting moderators in that could go, no, you're going to be a problem, so we're just removing you. This applies to everybody, because the reality of it is this: if I have a problem with the whole 9 yards, I can simply walk away. I'm not planning on it. I've been asked way too many times not to. So it's not exactly on the list of things to do. I do look forward to the day when we get up, when things climb to the point that we're back up at 15, 20 people a day minimum. Okay, we hit that for a while when I was focusing almost strictly on the UFO phenomenon. Thing is that the UFO phenomenon, the real life side of it, yes, very distracting, takes a lot of concern of the real world out of the picture. Oh, yeah, Joseph's just saying it wasn't visitors, it was ghost hunters. Well, I do appreciate the offer there, world. And that is something that we are looking for down the road. Okay. It really boils down to how things evolve and when they become required. But I definitely appreciate the offer. One of the, like I've been putting as a mod on a couple, but bearing in mind that I don't get out much and I am not good with tech, figuring out when people are creating a problem is usually a bit of a problem. Yeah, I absolutely appreciate the encouragement there, Joseph. This is one of the reasons why I've just looked at it and gone, look, this is the way I'm working my life. Net result, Okay, to give you an idea whether my method is working. I got because I was having trouble with my heart. I talked to the doctor. She put me on medication that was working wonders. It was great. Wiped out my eyesight. Didn't do a thing for my blood pressure. And net result, I end up looking at it going, now I can keep doing that. And down the road I can have kidney failure, or I can suffer from dementia. And let's face it, I'm already half nuts by a lot of people's account. Yeah, that makes sense there, world. I mean, I get a kick out of it because there is such a thing as overkill. Of course, most of the military I talk to in Canada go, overkill means you had a higher vantage point. Okay, but I look at it this way. I would rather people, and I know, dream of dreams, I would rather people think about the way they're treating others. I have seen it doesn't work well. Otherwise, we would have ended up with a massive attack about a month and a half ago-ish with a bunch of trolls coming in. Now, I like the trolls that come in that are, the ones that are a little ugly committed from my standpoint. Okay, not somebody I'd be dating, but they regenerate. They're a lot of fun. And in the gaming world, it's great. But bullies, which come in all shapes and sizes. And again, when you're looking at how you're treating other people, ask yourself, are you treating other people in the way that you personally desire to be treated? Okay, if the answer is yes, then carry on, because virtually guaranteed, you put that kind of negative energy out, it's going to come back and hit you right between the eyeballs. Now, world goes, yeah. Rose is telling us, I get no. And he carries on. Then they get deleted. Which I am a firm believer works. There's a lot of things I've had to learn about. Like, I don't have a lot of tolerance for stupidity to start with. But if you think that I have more tolerance for myself than I do for you guys, not a prayer. The difficult thing that you got to remember is that when you're dealing with people, energy out, energy in. However you are treating people, this is what you are stacking the deck in favor of getting for yourself. Okay. Now, by no means am I perfect. Okay. I do my best to be, to be straightforward, to be honest with people. And if I go to past lives, well, let's see. I've been burned at the stake. I've been hung on a cross. I've been drawn and quartered. I've been fed to who knows how many different animals, not the least of which was in one lifetime. It was really neat. I broke a law or two, and they decided that wasn't good. So they punched a hole in my hand with a knife and then threw me into the river where the piranha were having a heyday. Not enjoyable. But you got to remember that you cannot re-educate the dead. Therefore, random killing of everybody doesn't work well. I mean, it does cut down on repeat offenders. Okay, but it doesn't help them learn much. You've got to learn how to communicate. And this is the one problem I have with many trolls, is they've got no interest in learning. Okay, now in this world, in my world, I've got all this stuff going on. Not the least of which is I didn't sort it out properly, so I started on today again. These are all handwritten notes of things that have gone into positive perspectives. Plus my journal entries and the additions to the Elder Bachian Chronicles. Now I'm going back through them, making sure they're copied, and then eliminating the paper. Joe's going, you were hung to a cross. Well, sorry, gotta pause that for half a second. Joe's going, you were hung to a cross in your past life. Oh yeah, I was actually, I was hung on a cross a number of times. I was even shackled to a wall one day. That was fun. Well, I was shackled to a wall a lot of times. There's a reason I am a law-abiding pacifist at this point. Okay, it's not like my past lives were, shall we say, incredibly well thought out. Okay, I was accused of being a heretic. A heretic. I was accused of being a witch. Well, they were right on that one. In all fairness, I was also accused of inciting an insurrection. Which, if there hadn't been such a bunch of dipsticks, I probably wouldn't have done it. And the nearest I can figure, when I told my commanding officer that the reason I did in my former commanding officer was because he was being a bully and a dip. Apparently, this is a wrong thing to say right when you're up in front of the firing squad. There is a point where truth becomes painful. It did, however, solve the problem. I didn't have to deal with the idiots anymore. But I will tell you, when you take a look at the cross, okay, the neat part about the cross is this. Okay, most people were tied to it. Okay, the ones that were nailed to it, I hate to be the one to pop people's bubbles. Didn't go through the palm of the hand. Okay, that has been tested with corpses in this past century. Okay, the corpses tear off of the cross if you put the nail through the palm of the hand. Okay, now I don't know what people are thinking. You tie the arm, which is usually what happened, and then you die of exposure. Not a fun way to go, by the way. And definitely not something. It's kind of like when they started the gladiatorial fights. Yeah, they had to go through the wrist. If you put it through the wrist between the radius and the ulna, okay, then it gets stuck in behind the metacarpals, and the body will hang there until it decays enough that it falls down. Right? Usually they brought them down earlier than that. But the fact of the matter is this. Okay, it is not a fun way to die. Of course, the thing is, back then when we broke the law, like I got shackled to a wall, with my feet hanging off the wall. Nice prison. Take you into prison, put you up against the wall, shackle you, not driving nails through your wrists, just putting shackles, and then you just hang there. Not an enjoyable trip, but very profitable. Okay. Now, have I broken laws in the past? Absolutely. But we are talking past lives. Well, your shoulders dislocated, didn't do much for your hips. But I will tell you, the rack was a whole new advancement in chiropractic modification. And I swear half the people that study chiropractic now had to be a torturer, in a past life. Because these guys, they know what they're doing a lot of the time. And yes, there's always people that claim they know what they're doing, and they're about as useful as a screen door in a submarine. But take a look at your world. Okay. Now, sometimes you may feel as though your hands are tied. Oh, world, I didn't have a problem with that. I spent lots of time in the stocks. But I will tell you, The funny part there is your whole sense of dignity goes out the window. You're going to go anyway. You know, one of the biggest things you got to remember. Now, oh, yeah, in this life, but I do not mean, now don't get me wrong there, world. I do not mean that anybody has been strung up on a cross this year, this life, and this century that was alive. Okay, they did it about, if I recall correctly, it was about 30 years ago. Somebody decided to test it out for whatever reason. Okay, but they decided to hang a couple of corpses on a cross just to see what would happen. Now, fortunately, they hung ones that were already dead. At least I hope they did. The world goes, it's even more embarrassing today. Absolutely, it is. Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly there, world. You know, I mean, it's great. You're in the stocks, you get to eat as much garbage as you'd like. Because everybody wants to throw it at you. The stupid part about it is that they would throw garbage at you and they'd yell at you and do all sorts of things. And yet the only difference between half the people in the stocks and half the people complaining about it was that half the people in the stocks actually got caught. Okay, this is why when I look at my world, I go, okay, I've made some pretty stupid financial maneuvers. And this is why I am going to be now. Next week, we are dealing with healing. Okay. This week, we are dealing with literally, it's all about you. And therefore, we can deal with a lot of that. One of the biggest factors I have found is this. Okay. I've got a lot of different tools I've got access to. You'd think I would use most of them, and most of them I do in all fairness. But I got into some pretty bad spending habits. And at this point, I've dug myself into one heck of a crater. Right. Now, I'm still making the trip to Reno. It could be tight, but I'm going. You know, the reality of it is that I overextended myself. I do have the money coming in, but I should have had it sitting there ages back. As it turns out, I literally have to pull together to get through the end of the month. I literally have to pull together about $2,500. Okay, thus far, for all the money I've spent on my website. Okay, on the website I paid a professional to put together. It has generated nothing but a whole pile of suggestions that I give them money, that I give other individuals money. Now, the one that is set up with Buy Me a Coffee, that has generated more money, not a lot, but it has generated more than any of the other and then all of the rest of the website attempts combined. What have we got here? Oh, that's just terrible there. World goes, you know, people put a full beer mug into the hands of someone else in the stocks because he looked thirsty. Of course, he couldn't get the mug to his lips. He tried splashing it into his mouth. But, it didn't work. And then he was sticky, blind, and still thirsty. The neat little thing you got to remember when you're dealing with your life, take a look at what's working for you. Now, I go back 2 years. I was told you cannot drop the weight by cutting back on what you eat, or by exercising. It doesn't work. It's not the way to do it. Try this little pill because that'll work. Great idea. I fell for it. Hook, line, and sinker. I bought myself 2 bottles of this stuff. Forget what it was called. In all fairness, you don't want to know anyway. So I tried it. 3 days later, I had a major heart attack. I'm like, well, they're not wrong. I continue taking this, I will lose the weight. I think that's called dying and decaying, but so I took those 2 bottles and I threw them out. Okay. And before anybody jumps to any brilliant conclusions, yes, I took them down to a regular pharmacy and said, here, dispose of these in the best way possible, if you would, please. Okay. So they got rid of them. Then I turned around and went, hey, here's a novel thought. I desire to drop weight. Now, I do not debate that some medications will absolutely help you drop 30 pounds in a month. Bad idea. All of that waste has to go through your kidneys, your colon, your liver. I don't know all the organs that it goes through, but you're overtaxing them, and this is likely to cause a problem. So I went, how about we do something really weird? We stop putting as much calories into our system as we're burning and see if that works. 2 years later, I'm down 60 pounds. And the doctor looked at me and goes, and I did see her just before she retired. She looked at me and goes, you've lost a lot of weight. Are you okay? I says, I'm fine. I said, this has been a 2-year jump, which gives you an idea how often I saw her. But then it was great. She put me on the heart medication and retired. I took myself off of killing me. Or more to the point, it was making me blind. And had a good bet on making my mind go out the window. In case you hadn't noticed, my mind's already got 1 foot in the grave and the other one on a banana peel. But I'm working with it. Take a look at the situation you're in. Remember, it did not take you overnight in most cases to end up. You did not end up overnight without with the problem you've got. It likely took you a few years to build it. Okay, it's going to take time to change it. When it comes to weight loss, quit thinking in terms of weight loss. Okay. Quit thinking in terms of weight loss, because weight loss, the second you lose, you're likely to go around to try and find it again. Instinctively, people do. Problem with weight is it usually comes back with extra company. Oh, I will have to take a look at that. Now I've really got to ask a question there, Joseph. You said psyllium husk contains soluble fiber that may benefit your digestion and heart health. It helps you lessen the number of calories you need to eat. This is a great idea, but I do have a very important question. Aside from a pill, is there something that contains psyllium husk? Okay, and yes, before you go there, I do actually eat porridge, as in rolled oats, amongst other things. So I've got no problem adding a little to the concoction I've got. I'm wondering if that concoction now I've got my curiosity going. Give me 5 seconds here. Well, probably half a minute. It's the porridge. Okay. The reason I went and got this is the rolled oats that I use. That's Rogers. And no, I do not work for Rogers. They're not paying me. Okay, but it's got oats, rye, barley, spelt, kamut, oat bran, millet, flaxseed, and quinoa. Okay, now, what's the other thing? There's something up front that I just picked up and I forget what the heck it was. Oh, no, I forget what it was called. Oh, okay, Joseph gets you and goes, you can get them from herb shops, usually a powder. I mixed it with orange juice. See, I keep tanging in the house. I don't know whether that's a good idea or not, but I've grown up on it. It was fine. Oh, perfect. Thank you, LA. Thank you so much, Joseph. I do appreciate it. As I mentioned, and this is the thing about this place, anybody can walk in here and ask a question, and somebody in the room is going to have an answer. Okay, and that's the thing that we are striving to build here. This is a microcosm. Okay, I like to look at this stream as a positive microcosm. Okay, as a good example of the way this community and that this world can work. Then we can take a look at some of the other microcosms, like the UN, like the government buildings, where people scream at each other, yell at each other, and complain to each other. See, I prefer my banana bread not to kick my butt, but I do have a recipe for rolled oats and with raisins that I do enjoy. Of course, I keep forgetting to buy raisins, which makes it rough. I appreciate that, Joseph. The reality is everybody out there has a situation. Everybody out there has a story. I had a lady call me one day. Her husband was making $100,000 a year bonus, and they could not make ends meet. And they were completely at a loss as to how to do it. Now, I know from our standpoint, you've been struggling with money most of your life, pretty easy to understand. Miss a holiday, you'll be fine. They were not thinking that way. I did the same stupid thing. Okay. I was spending $300 to $400 a month at a restaurant with a house full of food. I was talking to my other half, right? And like I told her, I'm running low on coffee. Understand my idea of running low on coffee. I've got about 6 months of coffee left. Okay. Because I do not build things I do not make strong coffee. Oh, I understand that. I personally understand entirely what you mean there, Ellie. But the fact of the matter is, if something isn't working for you, okay, making an adjustment, if it works for you, and this is why I repeatedly tell people that the tools I offer are ones I personally use in my day-to-day life. Not the least of which is this shoulder still does not work right. But the more you use it, the stronger that muscle will get. This is why I keep ending up with my glasses taken off. Now, I can see enough of the screen to see things moving around. I cannot read the monitor without my glasses. But I am working on making them stronger. Well, it's like I tell people, LA, coffee doesn't always make somebody better. But more often than not in today's world, coffee does have the bonus of making people easier to cope with. I remember one day a friend of mine come over. I had some pears that turned, and I says, "What are we going to do with these?" So he comes over, we worked with a little, and he made some pear wine, or so we thought. So we tasted it; it was really smooth. So we poured ourselves a glass of wine and drank the glass of wine. Then we both stood up, looked at each other, and dropped back into our chair and went, "That was not wine." What he did was he orchestrated making pear brandy. And you don't drink a full wine glass full of brandy and try and walk. It's just a bad idea. Absolutely, Steve. The reality is, yeah, like here, coffee saves lives. The fact of the matter is, there are two things that seem very true in this world. People spend to the level of their income and then some. Okay. One of the stupidest things that I ever got into, and I will get back out of it, but it's likely going to take me a year or so. Okay. Is that when you've got access to credit, if you're using it ineffectively, which is what I've gone and done, and I've just decided next year I'm cutting everything off because the amount of money I've spent on advertising on companies that have said, "This will work, you need this," it has done jack for me. Okay, it has done absolutely jack. So I've already made the decision because the amount of money I've spent has done nothing. It's done absolutely nothing for my income level. Therefore, I'm looking at it going, okay, since it's not doing anything, I am simply going to have to turn around and simply rely on word of mouth. And that is where you guys come in. Okay, I will be providing the information necessary. But the idea of being on Yellow Pages, being on 411 has done absolutely jack. All I get is phone calls from people saying, "Hey, your site isn't trending. Give us money, we can make it work. We can make it work for you." Every one of the ones I've been stupid enough to actually put money to have not paid off. Okay, so next year, as in 2025, I've already decided I will not be renewing I will not be renewing the advertising because it's doing me absolutely no good at all. Okay, I will stick with things like the social media to work with, like positive perspectives and positive perceptions to get word out as well as word of mouth. And that, guys, is where you guys come in. But again, this boils down to the methods I'm working with. Okay, I've got a client that literally they were running around. Well, they still are running restaurants, as far as I know. Okay, but it takes very little time to figure out what needs to be done. It takes a whole lot of effort to actually do it. But I have become very focused on the idea of I'm no longer content. Therefore, I am changing my life, and I will take as many people to the top of the totem pole as I can draw with me. It's that simple. Okay. It's kind of like climbing a mountain and somebody in the scout going up, going, "Follow this path." If you choose to follow this, it's fantastic. If you choose not to, that's fantastic too. Okay. Because the reality is, I will give a hand to the people that are making the effort. But the ones that are stepping on other people to get ahead, or the ones that are going to turn around and go, "Oh, I cheated on my other half because you told me to." I cheated on my other half and I told her about it because you told me to do so. I do not condone cheating with anybody. Okay. Ever. Now, the reality of it is, from my standpoint, it's pretty cut and dried. do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Now, this mess, like you guys, some of you have said it's pretty well organized back there. I look at it going, not. But I can work with it, and I will be correcting it. But I have come to the conclusion I'm sitting on some stuff that is absolutely useless in my hands, so I'm now actively starting to look for a way to get rid of it. Really? Thank you very much, Ellie. I've just been informed we're down to 10 minutes. Well, as a matter of fact, if you're in the chat room, you've been informed as well. Now, with this in mind, okay, a couple of things I am now that are already in like May's newsletter is ready to go out. Okay, we are in April. May is already tied off. We're working on June. Okay, which is the way it should be. Okay, get ahead of the game. Absolutely, LA. You know, this is why I tell people, you cannot legislate intelligence. You cannot force good behavior. Although you can certainly encourage it. And this is why, with the people in this room right now, it's great. The interaction in here has been absolutely brilliant today. You know, honestly, I find it easier to work when the chat room is live. And this is why I say I don't mind the cross chatter. Oh, yeah, that ought to be a good one. I don't even bother trying to edit mine. I have enough trouble just making certain that I show up on time. But no, world, that's going to be a heck of a movie when you get done. But you know, we all can work together and make this a better world for virtually everybody. It's just going to take us some time, and we got to quit looking at the elites and going, they're responsible. They're responsible for their actions, for their words. If you're buying into what they're saying, okay, if you're buying into what they're saying, that's your responsibility. Okay, tomorrow is Saturday, and we will be looking at literally hands-on first person, if you will, taking a look at individuals that have run into a block. Let's turn this around and go way beyond the philosophy of it and the energy of it and absolutely make things happen on the individual base. Okay, this is where I'm going to turn around and call on individuals to see if we can open doors and start making things happen. You know, the neat part about it is going to require some combined effort. Okay, needless to say, I've got to get this mess sorted out. But that's my responsibility. I'm not turning to anybody else to say, hey, I need you to do this. Not going to happen. Good night, world. You take care. You know, I do appreciate that, Joseph. You know, the reality of it is I sat for the longest time, as in 55 years of waiting for people to wake up and make changes. Didn't happen. I can no longer sit by and go, I'll just, you know, they'll figure it out. Clearly, when I got the autobiography that my grandmother wrote and found out that people haven't changed one iota in 100 years, I already knew they hadn't changed in 2000, but it was kind of a reassuring corroboration. 100 years ago, people were still doing the same stupid jack-o'-nine system of things that they're still doing. Okay, and it really is time for everybody to start putting the effort towards things. Joe, thank you so much. I absolutely agree with you. Real big hats off to Ellie Moon, to Storm, and to Joseph L. You know, Absolutely. Now, with this in mind, I've got a bunch of work to do. If you've got additions that you would like, if you've got things that you would like added to Positive Perspectives, to the newsletter, I am now working on June's. Okay, and as soon as it's done, I'll start working on July's. Absolutely. Drop me a line to innervoiceenterprises@yahoo.ca, and I will take a look at it and see if it'll fit in. Remember, positive, not who hurt who and who ripped off who. There's lots of that going on. But until then, until that point, absolutely, absolutely take the time to really take a look at your life and start making the necessary changes. I will be back again tomorrow. But until then, do take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive.